Hello folks, welcome to the Virtual Realms YouTube channel. I'm Ranger1, and I'm bringing you a subscriber replay today in War Thunder Ground Forces Combat with Kalranya. Kal is well at home in the realistic Ground Forces environment of War Thunder, and we've had a subscriber replay from him before in the past. In fact, this time he's doing something a little bit daring. He's trying to finish vetting this Jackson. And to get himself the last bit of experience he needs, he's making a bold dash for the central cap zone on this map. Normally, that wouldn't be a winning strategy in a lightly armored tank destroyer like this. But he's a savvy enough player that his chances aren't too bad anyway. In the process, he's going to run into a relatively new player to realistic battles. We met him last episode that I put out. His name is Okrilat. He is the uncle of the 8-year-old girl that we featured in the last video named Slappy McGee. He's going to be joined by Slappy's father, who goes by the handle of Gangsta Noob. We'll be seeing them in just a couple of minutes, but for now, Kalranya is going to take cover behind this little tiny building that is just barely bigger than his own vehicle. And at this point, it appears that about half the enemy team has had the same idea that Kal's had. They're all heading for the central cap. All he can do at this point is trust his team to keep his flank clear and deal with the tanks that are in front of him. His Jackson punches a hole through that Panther G, sets it on fire, and it's going to blow up just a moment later. That Panther was far from alone, though. He's going to check his flank real quick. He's got some good visual concealment here behind this bush, and I don't think that Panzer IV is even aware of his presence until it's too late. Artillery is coming in thick and heavy around him, and he's very lucky to have survived that. You'll see on the other side of Sapphire Dragon, who is just about to go down. Our first sight of our other participants in the match that I mentioned, Gangsta Noob is over there in a Tiger, hiding on the other side of that building, but he's going to try and reposition in a moment and is completely unaware of Kalranya's position behind this bush. He's going to back up to reposition and, unfortunately, place himself directly in Kalranya's sights. I will freely admit that one of the most difficult things for me to get used to when realistic battles evolved into this form, it was hard to get used to not having those names over the enemy vehicles. Your eye gets trained to look for those names, and it can be a little bewildering to your optical reflexes, if you will, when you don't have them to use as a reference. Well, Gangsta Noob is still getting the hang of it, as is Okrilat, and this time around, it cost him his Tiger. I have little doubt that eventually those two are going to become excellent realistic battle players, but at the point in time that this video was captured, their inexperience definitely shows, and it's going to cost them heavily in this match. Right now, though, Kal is discovering just how desperate his situation actually is. He is being literally swarmed by heavy and medium tanks. If China would have pursued him around the corner, it would have been all over, but he hesitated. Gave Kal a chance to reload and snap a shot in. That's China Wenjun, and Kal's going to set him on fire and then get the heck out of Dodge. The tanks in immediate support of Kalranya's efforts had been driven back, but they are still capturing the enemy vehicle's attention, and instead of falling back himself, he decides to hightail it forward, going well behind enemy lines, taking full advantage of the fact that their attention is elsewhere. His bold dash forward has put him in the perfect position on his enemy's flanks, and he can now do what an American tank destroyer does best: put big holes in German steel. This is where Kal's experience is coming into play. He carefully chooses his targets and picks them off one after another. The only vehicle on the enemy team to even be faintly aware of his presence is this little flak panzer, which makes him an immediate priority. Over on the other side of the battlefield, China Wenjun has managed to put his fire out, so it's time to finish the job. And there's Okrilat. Just like the rest of his team, he's made the critical error of not checking around this corner before he pressed forward. Gangsta Noob is about to join him and make the same mistake he did. If they had had Slappy with them, who specializes in the rounds that she plays with her uncle and her father, and watching their backs and protecting them from harm, they might have had a chance. I'd give better than even odds that Slappy would have spotted him around that corner, because that's the sort of thing she looks for, and could have at least drawn their attention to the additional threat from behind. As it stands, Cal was able to put several shots into Okralat, and ultimately they were both finished off by the rest of Cal's team. Okralat and Gangsta Noob, by this point in the battle, they're in a bad situation. They're at the bottom of their point reserve. They don't have much left as far as effective combat vehicles. Really, they just don't have much left to fight back with. Cal, for his part, is going to hold up here for a second and catch his breath. Much to his amazement, he's still alive. He pushed very far behind enemy lines, and by all rights, he should have been picked off long ago. He's held up just long enough to determine that no more enemy tanks are going to zoom past him around that corner and be just a hair too slow to pick off that tiger across the canal. Well, his presence has managed to drive a dagger into the heart of the enemy team. Their ranks are pretty well decimated. I think there's a Hellcat still running around out there that's going to have some effect on the rest of Cal's team, but ultimately he won't be enough to swing the battle in their favor. They just don't have much left to work with. Still, in this lightly armored vehicle, Cal has to be careful, even approaching vehicles like a flak panzer, which can do a significant amount of harm to his open-topped vehicle and the crew contained therein. Cal is going to take the opportunity to spin his Jackson around and move over to the opposite flank. He's looking for an angle, a line of advance on the enemy's spawn point and that final capture point. The rest of Cal's team is taking the hint and pushing forward through the center of the map. As he swings around on the right flank over here, he has to watch it. He almost gets nailed by an enemy whirlwind over there. A whirlwind piloted by none other than Gangsta Noob. Gangsta and Okralat have both jumped in whirlwinds, and I believe one of their other teammates has as well. And they can lay down a withering amount of fire on advancing tanks. There's still another Tiger over there to the left as well, but they're rapidly getting surrounded. And that's perhaps one of the most interesting things about running an American tank. Cal's gun is more than enough to take out any of these whirlwinds ahead of him, but then again, their little anti-aircraft guns are more than enough to take Cal out as well. Gangsta has just gone down to a bomb drop from an AR-2. And the AR-2 is taken down in turn by that whirlwind right there that Cal just finished off for his 8th kill. Okralat finds himself all alone over there, trying to hold down this entire flank. It's a valiant last stand, and I'm pretty sure he's well aware of that, as Cal begins to move forward for the final advance, along with the entire weight of the rest of his team. Cal is going to finish this match up with 8 player tank kills and 2 assists, and that's a pretty respectable score no matter how you look at it. And I'm presenting you with this replay today because, well, frankly, it's a great example of how one player can completely turn a battle on its ear. At the point where Cal made his almost suicidal rush behind enemy lines, the two teams were in each other's face and equally matched. The battle could have gone either way. But Cal's experience enabled him to take advantage of a single weak point in the enemy defenses and radically change the outcome of the battle. Well, he'll barely miss polishing off that whirlwind. He damages it heavily, but doesn't get the kill, unfortunately. This battle's winding down. But even so, Okralat's team does not go down without a fight. It's fairly tragic. They really don't have anything substantial left to fight back with. They're primarily just a group of flak panzers and whirlwinds left, and there's no way they're going to withstand this final assault, but they keep trying, much to their credit. And Okralat himself is going to end up being one of the last surviving members of his team. He hangs in there right up to the very end. Cal is going to have a little spot of bad luck in this match, the first bit of bad luck he's had in this match. He's going to be just a little bit too slow to get in on the last kills. In fact, he Takes a little bit of friendly fire attempting to do so. It kills his gunner, but he manages to keep his vehicle alive despite his team's best efforts. But despite that bit of over-exuberance on the part of his team, it was a magnificent battle on both sides. They acquitted themselves well, and it was a fun match to watch. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did, and I want to thank Kalranya for turning the replay in. The timing of it couldn't have been any better. And there's the last gasp from Okralat. He's going down, guns blazing. But yes, he goes down. That's all I've got for you this time around. Until I see you guys again, good hunting. Thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And I'll see you next time.